It's a new day. Yes, it is. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Top Rope Takes. Of course, this is our first episode of 2025. We are ringing in the new year with a strong card of pro wrestling. A lot to talk about, but obviously today we're going to be focusing on the Raw debut on Netflix. But before we get to our thoughts on that and everything upcoming this year, I got to check in with my buddy here, Will. Will, how's it going?
It's going great. I hope everyone had a happy new year and just happy holidays in general as we head into 2025. I'm looking at possibly a huge year in wrestling, and we're getting things kicked off with maybe the biggest episode of Monday Night Raw in history coming up, the Raw debut on Netflix. So I'm excited to jump right into it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think it is the biggest Raw episode ever. I mean, it is a stacked card with four matches that they could absolutely have put on WrestleMania. Nobody would have thought twice about. And on top of that, there's going to be surprises that aren't announced. We could see some debuts. We could see some returns of people that aren't being advertised. I think it's going to be, they're throwing everything at the wall in this episode.
Yeah, and just the historical significance of not being on cable television anymore. I mean, I think that's
Mhm.
going to be the big thing we look back on. Obviously, there's going to be huge matches that will be talked about for probably the rest of the year, but just the idea that Raw is moving to a streaming service for live television, it's exciting. I wonder what the parameters are going to be for if they, try to get a little crazy, do some experimental stuff, try to flip it on its head, or if we're going to get more or less kind of the same Raw we've been getting, but with a little added spice. Should be interesting, but I'm looking forward to this card. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I do think it's going to be more of the same. I know there are some people who thought, oh, once they move to Netflix, it's going to be like TV 14. Like, no, I don't think so. At the end of the day, like, I don't know what the whole advertising market's going to be now that they're on Netflix. I still think Netflix is going to have commercials, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know how that's going to work, but I wouldn't expect too much of a change in the product.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to go super crazy with it, but it's just going to be nice for that. If the crowd
Mm,
chants like "holy shit" or something,
yeah,
like there'll be
able to.
no
Yeah,
censors on that. That used to piss me off, especially when The Rock was on TV a lot and he would curse. Like just
yeah.
having it cut out was a little bit annoying. So at least they won't have that problem. I don't think they should like plan for it to happen, but at least it's good to know that if it does happen, it's not going to disrupt the flow of the show.
I would. That's a good prop bet. I would love to put money on who's the first person to drop an F bomb because they're on Netflix on Monday. You know what I
Oof.
mean?
Yeah, I know it's
That feels
big.
like a
I mean,
CM Punk thing.
see, it feels like a CM Punk thing. Man, we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, let's get into what we do know is going to happen on this card. Four big matches announced. We're not sure there's if there will be more. I mean, it's 3 hours, right?
Uh, I never know. I could be 3 hours. I think if there were to be a 3 hour show to kick off
Hmm.
the new year, it makes sense. I don't know if that's their consistent thing. They've been
Yeah.
doing 2 hours for the past few months. And I didn't know if that was just like the end of USA Network going back to 2 hours or it was kind of confused. I never understood that. I think it's 3 hours, but
Hmm.
we'll see.
Well, we'll focus on what we do know, and what we do know is that there is a match that we have been waiting for a very long time, basically since WrestleMania 40, and that is Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa, tribal combat, where we presume the winner is going to get the control over the Ulafala. I am so surprised they've been able to draw out this one-on-one match between Roman and Solo for this long. It feels like this should have happened literally 6 months ago. We're finally getting it now on this debut episode for Raw on Netflix. What are we? How are we feeling ahead of this match? Also noted, how long has it been since Roman Reigns has had a match on Raw?
It's been a really long time. I can't even think about the last time. Like just off the top, I have to imagine it was like in 2021. Like the last one I can remember was that weird, like they had like a triple threat match with like Bobby Lashley and Big E.
Hmm.
Like that's the last one I could think of, but there's probably been one more recently. I know they were supposed to have a tag match at after WrestleMania 39 when it was going to be Cody Brock versus Roman and Solo. Yeah, I'm not sure because he was mostly SmackDown guy too. Like he wouldn't come to Raw that often. And if it was like a special attraction, he wouldn't really be involved in a match.
Right.
So I can't off the top, I couldn't remember. I'm guessing it's the Bobby Lashley Big E triple threat. Or maybe it was even New Day versus Bloodline when they did that.
So
Um,
according to this wrestler database, the last time that
okay.
Roman Reigns was on Raw, or had a match on Raw, was July 25th, 2022. It was the
Okay.
Bloodline. It was Roman Reigns and the Usos defeating the Street Profits and Matt Riddle. Never would have guessed that.
Wait, July 25th, 2022. Was that at Madison Square
It
Garden?
was, yes.
I was at that Raw.
So
That's
funny.
I can't believe I forgot about it. Like I was just thinking about what I watched on TV. Okay, so I would guess I was at the last Roman Raw match. That's
There you
crazy
go.
to think about. Okay.
Uh,
I honestly do not remember that match whatsoever. I remember Matt Riddle being there. I think that you know what happened? Matt Riddle was there and I think the Bloodline won, right? I would
yes.
assume. And Seth Rollins came out at the end. It was when his song was just starting to get super over.
Mhm.
And literally, as we were walking out of MSG, that's when people just started singing the song nonstop, like,
Wow.
and kind of got over there.
Here's another interesting fact. If you do not include dark matches, which he's had two, he has only had three televised matches on Monday Night Raw since September of 2021.
Wow.
So the New Day, the one you were thinking about, the New Day, that was the second one. That was in September 2021. That's the penultimate match on
Right.
Raw. So Roman
What
Reigns,
about a
not a
singles
Raw
match?
guy.
Like just a one-on-one match? Is that even
Oh,
further
now you're
back? Is
really
that
going back.
pre-pandemic? Yeah. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Wow.
Um, and
But
also I did
anyway,
find
here
out
we
Raw
go.
is 3 hours, by the way. We know that for
Monday
sure.
Night
I
Raw is
think it's
3 hours.
3 hours going forward as well.
Cool.
Um, as far as this match is concerned,
Mm,
yeah, I mean, the obvious thing would be Roman wins, gets the Ula follow back, and then from there on, I
yeah.
think people want to speculate about The Rock. I don't know if Rock is showing up now at WrestleMania. I keep hearing he's not. I mean, it could be. I'm always conspiracy mode where like it could just be like a big
Big
foil for
ruse.
us,
Yeah.
like smart marks, and he's actually going to show up and do something at WrestleMania. But do you think I'm curious if you think Solo has a chance of winning this because I think they do like Solo and it would be I think narratively an interesting fork in the road for Roman if he doesn't win this. So
I
I'm thinking Roman's winning, but I do you think Solo has any chance?
if I so here's I'm gonna say no. I don't think Solo has any chance, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I think there's no universe where the Solo Sokoa character beats the Roman Reigns character clean, and because I believe that they have announced that this is not the main event. I cannot see a universe where the show is likely going to open with this match and they're going to open with a solo win and Roman losing. I don't see that happening. Um, no, I would be very shocked if Solo Sikoa won this match. Now, would it help his character? Yes, but I think it would actually do a lot of damage to Roman Reigns, regardless, because he is starting to get to the point of like we're over this bloodline stuff. This would draw it out more. And I think like no one, even if Solo were to win, I don't think people are clamoring to see Roman versus Solo. I think they want Roman to move on to bigger and better things.
I think so too, but for one, you said you don't see a world where Solo beats Roman clean. It is tribal combat. So I don't like no matter what, I don't think there's going to be like a super clean finish. I mean, I guess Roman could just beat Solo clean, but then I feel like that would do Roman beating Solo in this instance does more damage to Solo than Solo beating Roman does damage to Roman, if that
I
makes sense. Like
disagree.
Roman can lose. Like we've seen him win for 4 straight years. Like he could lose like a couple of matches and still be Roman Reigns. And I think he could come back in this case and it will be a storyline where people would want to see him overcome Solo, depending on how Solo wins this match. I do think if Solo does win, there's going to be nefarious means. And I think the biggest one or the biggest shock that could come out of this match is Paul Heyman
Mm,
turning on Roman and going back to Solo and saying Solo is the tribal chief because he cut an interesting promo. I don't know if you caught the Netflix like kickoff show thing,
no.
but he was cutting this promo on Solo and he used interesting words where he is like, we're going to find out who's the tribal chief and who is the wannabe tribal chief. And what he's implying there is whoever wins this match is the real tribal chief and whoever loses is the wannabe tribal chief. I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but that's kind
Hmm.
of what he said. And I just thought that's an interesting thing to say, considering that Roman could possibly, in kayfabe, lose this match.
Right.
Obviously, he's thinking, if we're just thinking on the side of Paul Heyman being the wise man to Roman Reigns, he doesn't think Solo has a chance.
Yeah.
But I feel like Paul Heyman's smarter than that. He knows that there is a chance Solo could win.
Hmm.
And if he sees things going a certain way, does he make the switch and be with Solo, causing Roman to now be on his own, which,
Hmm.
again, narratively is kind of an interesting fork in the road. And if The Rock really isn't involved at WrestleMania, I don't know what Roman does besides, and we'll get to another possibility for Roman Reigns later, but I do think the way they've been telling the story, I could easily see them doing Roman Solo or some Roman bloodline thing at WrestleMania. And this is just kind of like the start to that storyline.
Mm, maybe. I don't know. I guess I'm just speaking for personal. I'm over it. I don't really want to see it continue. Like, I think Solo has been presented as such a joke and no one's taken him seriously. So, like, I think um to have Paul Heyman turn, like, what would be Paul Heyman's motivation to turn on him for Solo? I could see him turning on him from CM Punk, but for
Right.
Solo,
Well, it might coincide. Like, that's I think the big question is like, does this, I think that would then lead,
Solo
maybe
put him
that's
through a
the
table.
catalyst for Roman and Punk is, does Roman believe after Paul turns on Roman for Solo that this has something to do with Punk's favor? Even though it
Mm,
might not have anything to do with it, Roman might look to Punk for answers on that, and Punk still is kind of being quiet and secretive. And
yeah.
maybe like if we're going super top rope takes with it, maybe this begins some sort of alliance between Punk, Heyman, and Solo. That could be interesting, but that's a little, that might be super
That feels like
crazy.
a WWE universe from
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's just something to think about, I guess, going
yeah.
into it to kind of make it more interesting than just Solo wins, he gets you to follow back, and then
Yeah.
it
If I
kind of
had to
moves
make a
on to the next
prediction,
thing. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot more simple than we think. I think Roman's going to beat Solo with, I think, like, obviously, like, Solo's bloodline's going to get involved, but I think Roman's going to overcome the odds. Spear, one, two, three, takes it, will fall back. Roman moves on to bigger and better things. And I think what the next direction is for the Solo characters. I really think they could move into a direction where they're going to start to elevate Jacob Fatu. And I think your WrestleMania match for Solo is Solo and Jacob Fatu.
I could see that, but here's my question to you because I
Mm-hmm.
do also like, even though I'm throwing out all these different hypotheticals, I do think Roman's going to beat Solo. My
Mm-hmm.
hang up is you keep saying Roman's going to move on to bigger and better things. What is that bigger and better thing that Roman's going to move on to?
World titles, man.
Because, oh, so you think it's Roman Gunther?
Well, not necessarily the world title, but assuming Cody's the champion, I think you
You think
fully
it's
go.
Cody Roman
I think
at
that's
Mania
next.
this year? Three?
Not at WrestleMania, but and potentially at the Royal Rumble.
Really? You think it's Cody
Oh no,
and
no, they
Roman
already
at the
announced Cody
Rumble
and Kevin
because they
Owens for a
announced
ladder
Kevin,
match.
yeah, for a ladder match. So I don't think that's the case. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see Roman, like, I want Roman to go after the world title. I just think that scene right now is a little crowded to where it doesn't, I don't see him fitting anywhere, which is why, that's why I do think there is a chance that Solo could win because I think they're trying to delay Roman in the world title scene until after WrestleMania.
I guess we'll see. I mean, Roman's almost certainly going to be in the Royal Rumble, right? And
Yeah,
his
I know.
message
He
is
could still have the motivation to get into, like, he could try to move on. And he could even win this, try to move on the Royal Rumble. And that sets up whatever he's actually going to do
Hmm.
at WrestleMania. I'm just curious to know what the bigger and better thing is because I don't think it's a world title, but I could still see it being something different from the bloodline. I just don't know what it is. I still
Yeah,
think the most likely thing that could be separate from the bloodline is Punk Roman, but we'll get into it. I don't even know if that's the direction for WrestleMania. So,
that's true. Well, what if it is? I feel like CM Punk. What if CM Punk does win the world title? That's in between now and WrestleMania, and
yeah, well
then
that's a conversation for sure that it could be Punk
Punk
Roman
Roman
at
for the world
Mania.
title.
But I could see it being. Do you want to just talk about the next match? Because I this
Yeah, I
kind
feel
of
like
does
yeah,
lead into
we're going
my
down a rabbit
my
hole.
next I because it does lead into what I think is going to happen with Punk
Okay.
with going into this next match. So let's talk about it. CM Punk, Seth Rollins. That's our main event.
Yes.
Probably going to save this for the end, but right now we got to talk about it right now because I do think Roman and Solo, Punk, Rollins, they could all coincide with each other because there is a world where Punk beats Rollins and then
Hmm.
Punk challenges Gunther at the Royal Rumble,
Yeah.
wins the world title, and goes to WrestleMania. But I do, and in that scenario, I do think you could see a Punk Roman match. I do think there's also a scenario where Rollins beats Punk,
Hmm.
Rollins beats Gunther, and Punk wins the Rumble, and you get Punk Rollins for the world title at Mania in the rematch. Punk has to try to get his win back over Rollins and get the world
Interesting.
title. Or it could be the same thing where Punk beats Rollins. Punk wants to put Rollins in the past. Punk beats Gunther for the world title, and Rollins wins the Rumble because not only does he want to win the world title that he lost last year WrestleMania, he wants to beat Punk for that title and get
Right.
his win back over Punk. So I do think no matter what, after this, no matter which way it goes on Netflix, I do think this is still the match at Mania more so than Punk and Roman. I don't see them shoehorning in this Punk Roman storyline for in like 2 months unless they get it started like at the debut of Netflix or like leading up into the Royal Rumble. So I do think they're going to continue this storyline that they have been building and do the match they wanted to do last year, which was Punk Rollins for the world title. I think this is just the first step to getting there is this match.
No, yeah, I agree with you that this is not going to be like a one match thing. Regardless, like we're getting more of these, whether or not it's at WrestleMania, I don't know. I think that's one of the beautiful things about where we are in the company right now is that there's so many avenues and so many superstars and so many theoreticals that like it's not predictable, which I love. If I had to guess, I think for Raw, I think at the end they want CM Punk to come out as the bigger star in 2025 for their is like if I were to ask you who's more likely to be in a world title picture at WrestleMania, CM Punk or Seth Rollins, I think right now it's CM Punk. But for that reason, I think there's more money in drawing it out, and I think Seth Rollins is the more likely person to win on Raw because while I think I would consider them I would call CM Punk pretty much a full fledged babyface right now. I would consider Seth Rollins more of a tweener. And so for that reason, I think he is more likely to be like the heel in this rivalry. Like one someone you could just flip back to a babyface whenever you need him to. But I would say Seth Rollins is more likely to pick up the win here to draw the story out more so that CM Punk eventually gets his big win back. Kind of in the way they did it with Drew.
Yeah, I mean, I see Seth. It's weird because, and this is gonna be a weird comparison, but I almost see Seth as kind of like Cena in the Cena Rock feud from those years ago in the way
Yeah,
where he's like he is a babyface still, but he's got more edge to him
yeah,
than usual, and he's going after someone who people also like, but he's not going to hold back because he's a face. He's going to,
yeah,
go at his throat. And we would be remiss not to mention the phenomenal promo segment
yeah,
on Raw this past week. It was like almost everything you wanted them to say in a promo was said in that promo. Like when
mm,
we saw Punk and Rollins like originally start this feud, this was the promo I think most of us envisioned them having against each other. So I'm glad that they did that to build up to this match. I think it's great. It does leave me wondering if the direction is Punk Rollins, if what else can they do to make
mm,
this feud hot and exciting going into Mania. But yeah, I do think if Rollins does get this win on Raw, I do think whoever wins this is like the next world title contender and
Yeah.
possibly the next world champion. So should be interesting in that regard.
Yeah, well, we will see. There's no way to predict this one, but like I said, if I had to guess, Rollins is going to win in the main event.
Yeah, I it's tough because I do see a war like if you do think Punk Roman could be the direction, I do see a world where Punk wins
Yeah.
and ends
Either
up
way,
getting the
whoever
title.
loses is gonna be fighting for a rematch, and
Absolutely.
we'll get it. All right, let's talk about. There's two other matches on the card here. We are getting the a last woman standing match for the women's world title: Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. This feels like the culmination to a program that's been going on since WrestleMania 40. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. I think Rhea is going to win the world title on this episode, start her dominant march toward her whoever they have planned for her at WrestleMania. I'll be interested to see what they do with Liv Morgan after this point forward if she loses the world title, um, and whether or not she and Dom will be able to maintain their presence on Raw television. So I'm sure they have something good planned for them, but I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, I mean, Liv has been doing phenomenal work for most of 2024, but I do think at WrestleMania season it should be about building up a big Rhea Ripley match. I think Rhea Ripley's just had a strong past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
During WrestleMania, her match was Charlotte Flair at 39, her match with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 40. I think she wins this title, and then it's kind of up in the air who you want to give her. I think the main one that would be interesting is Bianca because Bianca kind of has this WrestleMania streak, and you could kind of go,
Mm-hmm.
and they also like came up together. They were two,
Yeah.
kind of big NXT prospects post Horsewoman era. And they've, blown up ever since. They're kind of like the two faces of the women's division for the past
Mm-hmm.
few years. It'd be cool to see them collide, but maybe they want to save that because they got Bianca and Jade stuff to kind of
Yeah.
resolve that. So I'm curious to see who the opponent for Rhea Ripley is. Is it one of the two names I mentioned that she's already faced at WrestleMania? Do you see either of them returning on this Raw to confront Rhea? That being either Charlotte Flair or Becky Lynch, who we haven't seen in a while.
I certainly would expect it. I know Becky Lynch was at the promo, like a promo event for this specific Raw on Netflix. Like she hasn't been on TV in a while, but she was there for that. So I could very well see Becky Lynch coming back and they just running it back at WrestleMania 41 if they wanted to go in that direction. I'll throw a fantasy booking at you. I don't know how likely this is, but let me agree that Dom and Liv have been a focal point at on Raw television all year, right? We agree that they probably deserve something nice at WrestleMania. This might feel like a demotion. What about Liv and Dom versus Becky and Rollins?
Oh, I mean, I don't hate Becky and Liv doing something at Mania.
Mhm.
I just Rollins being in that kind of feud would definitely seem
Yeah,
huge, like a huge demotion for Rollins. And I
yeah,
don't even think it really helps Liv and Dom either. Like, obviously, it'd be big for them, but
hmm
it just seems like it'd be one of those kind of forgettable matches at WrestleMania.
yeah,
It wouldn't be one that's like kind of top
yeah,
billing on that WrestleMania card. So I would steer away from that. I think you could get more out of having separate programs with Becky and Liv. And then
yeah.
if you really want to do Seth Rollins and Dominic Mysterio, you can. But yeah, I mean, I
Because
don't
if,
think
if
that's the
Rollins
direction
isn't
to
in the
go.
world title picture, because if that's taken up by the Gunthers, the CM Punks, the no, the Roman Reigns, the John Cena's, we believe it's going to be some combination of those four. Rollins kind of doesn't have a home. So and they are very high on Dominic Mysterio. He's the biggest heel in the company. He's young. I could really see them having Rollins and Dom at WrestleMania and give Dom a really big match.
Yeah, I think there's other options. I would rather honestly see Rollins in like a IC title program with Braun Breaker before
Yeah,
Dominic Mysterio. Not saying that's what I want the direction to be,
yeah,
but I think that would actually be like a cool match to put over Braun Breaker
that's fair.
and have Seth Rollins involved. I don't know what you really do with Dom. I think I think honestly, you could just have him do another match with Rey Mysterio if you want. Make it like it's a 3 match saga. Do like the big culmination where Dom finally beats Rey at WrestleMania. You did
Yeah.
have him beat Rey in a mixed tag, but I think it'd be more impactful if he finally gets that singles win
Hmm.
over Rey Mysterio. And they've been doing stuff together on house shows, which makes me believe that there might be something to that match happening at
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
I don't know. We will see. But yeah, as far as it goes for the women on this Raw episode, any disagreement in how we think this is going to play out?
No, I think Rhea wins the title. Yeah, it would be another one where I'd be curious to see Liv somehow, but like if they really, because we mentioned like the possibility of Becky, Charlotte, even Bianca possibly. Like what I'm trying to think, like, who else could you have up there go up against Rhea? Because those seem like the obvious like superstars, but also they seem like the timing isn't right either
Yeah.
for those kind of matches. So do you like same question with Solo? Is there any chance that Liv Morgan wins this and they try to extend this out to WrestleMania where they do Liv and Rhea?
I think there's more of a chance Liv retains than there is Solo beats Roman. And
Okay.
I think the differentiating factor is I think they are more they're more willing to screw screw Rhea over.
Rhea Ripley.
Yeah. I think they're more willing to screw Rhea over in the sense of storyline and have her lose than I think they will Roman. I think Roman is one of those guys who like you protect at all costs.
You know what I
I
just
don't
thought
see
of though?
what.
I this is my new prediction for what's going to happen. Rhea beats Liv, last woman standing, brutal match. Tiffany cashes in, wins the World Heavyweight Championship, and you get Tiffany versus Rhea at Mania.
I don't hate it. I didn't think that's very possible. I think
I
it
was just
would
trying to
be
think of who else is gonna like could
yeah.
possibly face Rhea. I don't think that's a bad
No,
little
I think that's a great
match
call.
there.
I think that's a really great call. My only complaint about that, if we see that, is it kind of puts an abrupt end to this whole Nia stuff.
Right. It would kind of be like a weird swerve, but then you could do stuff with Tiffany and Nia being like double champs, like they're kind of rulers of the world, world beaters. But I also, this was another thing I was thinking of. Rhea wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Royal Rumble comes. Roxanne gets her official call up and wins the Rumble as her first official,
No
like
shot.
main roster call up. And then you do Rhea Roxanne
Nah, I don't
at
see that.
Mania.
I don't see
That's
that
like that's
happening.
like a, fantasy
Yeah,
booking there a little bit, but
yeah,
I'm just trying to throw out heels that, would be an exciting matchup for Rhea Ripley because
yeah.
I do think, or I just really don't want to see it be Liv and Rhea at Mania. I think it
I
would
think
just be too
Roxanne
stretched
winning
out.
the Rumble in her debut is right up there with your CM Punk Solo Sokoa tag team. I don't think that's happening.
I no, okay, that's I think a little, I don't know. That's a little mean. I don't think it's a crazy idea to have someone debut and win the Rumble. I think they should do it at some point. It seems unlikely, but it was more unlikely in like a Vince era
Yeah.
WWE than it is for Triple H. I could see Triple H,
I also just think
doing something
aesthetically,
fun.
like I think also aesthetically, it's hard to market a Rhea versus Roxanne WrestleMania match. She's so
I mean, the
tiny.
company would have to have a lot of faith in
Yeah,
Roxanne, which I think they do. So
yeah,
I think, at some point you're going to have to call up Roxanne and have her do
for
something big if you
sure.
want to keep the momentum going.
Yeah,
So
I don't
this
know.
well, you can't really get bigger than that. You'd have to, again, it seems like you'd have to have a lot of faith in it. I think they're going to push Roxanne main roster debut till after Mania, but we're just spitballing,
I'll compromise
Ethan.
with
It's
you.
not that
Roxanne Perez,
serious.
Final Four in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could see that. I could see, and it could be any like you could insert any NXT name for, it could even be Jordan Grace for, who
That's true.
cares? We could have any of those NXT women come in and make a splash in
Yeah.
their debut. I think it'd be a cool thing to do, especially if they want to promote that like NXT women's division that they've been building up so well over the past year.
All right, and now we only have one more match to talk about, and it's Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. This one was the last match to be announced, came be official this past week on Raw. This one's a hard one to predict. I think they're going to give the big baby face a win here, so I'll go Jey Uso. But it could really go either way.
Yeah, I'll be contrarian. I'll go Drew McIntyre because I think Drew's going down the line of
Hmm.
the bloodline. It would kind of be weird if he's going down these list of bloodline guys that he wants to stop, and it just Jey Uso beats him, and then that's kind of the end of Drew's hunt against the bloodline. I think Drew has to have some momentum. If
Yeah.
the ultimate goal at some point is to do Drew Roman, which I guess could be another direction they have available for WrestleMania if they wanted to go that route. But I do think Drew has like a set storyline. He's got like a set motive now as a character. I think we should continue doing that. And
Hmm.
unless there's like some crazy thing that happens on Raw, like Wade Barrett gets involved and that kickstarts their
Yeah.
feud, like I don't think that's going to happen. But like, unless something like that happens where he has a clear direction to go after losing to Jay, then I think Drew's going to win this and continue his hunt against the Bloodline.
We shall see. And then lastly, this is not a match, but we have the official beginning of John Cena's farewell tour. John Cena will be on Monday Night Raw this week. What are we expecting from John Cena on this episode of Raw?
Well, I think it's pretty clear to me. I don't know about you, but I think there's another guy that they announced being on the Raw roster heading into Netflix who could easily come out to spoil John Cena's opening for the farewell tour, and that is one Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul will come out and confront John Cena
Hmm.
during this segment. Will do I think it'll lead into a match? Like
Eventually.
eventually, yes, but I don't know if it'll happen at WrestleMania season. I could even see it being like a maybe like a big selling point for like an elimination chamber if you
Yeah.
want to do something like that. But I think it's mostly going to build up the Rumble where John Cena is going to announce he's in the Royal Rumble match and he's going to win to try to get number 17. But Logan Paul comes out and he's going to declare his intentions for the Rumble. Big breakdown. John Cena hits an AA on Logan Paul. But wabadu.
I agree with you. I agree. I think that's the direction that we're headed in. If yeah, I mean, definitely gonna get Cena and Logan Paul at some point. Um, I agree with you. I think Elimination Chamber is the most likely spot because I think the Rumble would be too soon. I think they're both going to be in the Rumble. Again, Logan Paul, another guy that they have to find a place for at WrestleMania. Maybe it is him and Cena at WrestleMania. I think that would be because, especially because it is Cena's last WrestleMania, but it's not. But he's going to be wrestling for 9 months or 8 months after the fact, so it's not like Cena's going to probably beat whoever he faces at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Well, I have certain plans for Cena at WrestleMania, but you guys will have to tune
You
into our
also tuning with CM Punk and
2025.
Solo Sikoa?
I don't know about that. I do want to see Punk and Cena before this retirement's up, but we do have a 2025 predictions video. If it's not up already, it's coming out soon, where
Yes.
we're going to predict what's going on in 2025. And I do have big plans for Cena coming up throughout the year and at WrestleMania. So
Oh,
stay tuned for that or go check it out if it's out already.
okay.
Um, to wrap this up though, they did advertise someone else making a debut, and that is your best friend's friend,
Mm,
Penta El Zero Miedo.
yes.
What do you think he does? Could he confront John Cena and declare his intentions for the
Oh,
role?
I
What a
know
moment
everybody's
that would be.
clamoring for John Cena versus Penta El Cero Miedo.
Yeah, that would actually be really fun. Like, don't even lie. Like, that would be a pretty cool
It'd be fun for
sight to
only
see.
us, and the casual fan would be like, "Who? What happened to Rey Mysterio?" I don't think they would.
I don't know. I mean, obviously I don't think you go into it right away, but if you did want to like make a splash, like if you did want to
No
build
shot
up
this
a
is
guy,
happening. Yeah.
why not? Like, why not have Penta show up and
No
go
shot.
head to head with Cena? Cena does "You Can't See Me." He does Cero Miedo to his face. Like, if they got hand signals, they could do one of these. I don't know.
That's that booking around hand signals.
This could be fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Or just
No,
again, we're spitballing here.
I
This is top
think
rope takes. We're not doing middle rope takes here. We're
that's
going
right.
off the top.
Only top rope takes. I'm gonna play it safe here and say Penta's gonna debut and attack Rey Mysterio.
Okay, yeah, that's fun. Yeah, they could do Penta Ray at. Mania. Maybe as like Dom's like hitman. Penta comes in
Honestly, I don't
to
hate
take out
that.
Ray.
Having Penta be like almost like a heavy for Dominic Mysterio, that would fit his character.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would actually be like a fun dynamic if they had Liv, Dom,
And
Ra-
Penta.
Raquel, and then Penta's just like looming around them. He's just kind of like doing his little thing. I mean, he has so
Yeah.
much charisma. I think that would actually be a great spot for him.
Yeah. I think how, on the confidence level, he like heel or face, I think he's gonna be heel. Almost guaranteed.
Mm. I could go. I could see it going either way. If they're gonna have him in that program with Ray, then obviously come in as a heel. But he's gonna be so likable that he's gonna eventually be a face, and people are
For
gonna like
sure. But I think as far
love
as
him.
like debuting him to a new audience, because he's a guy who's never been on WWE television before. And so you're not, WWE, as we all know, is not exclusively pro wrestling fans. They're WWE fans. A lot of them do not know who this is. And I think it's much easier to get him across to a new audience by making him a heel than trying to get people to cheer for this reign. Like, look at Dragon Lee. Like, Dragon Lee's floundering because he's just another luchador to the WWE audience. I think it's easier to get him to immediately get his presence felt by coming in and attacking baby faces.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting comparison. I think more people know Penta going into WWE than they did Dragon Lee. Like, I think Dragon Lee was able to impress
Mm-hmm.
just based on his in-ring skills alone, but he doesn't have the charisma. Like, there's just an extra element to Penta
Mm-hmm.
that is different from other luchadors that they've tried to bring in the past. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think this is your average luchador that's coming in cold to WWE. I think there's still going to be obviously this is you have to treat it like not a lot of people are going to know who Penta is, but I have confidence in Penta. If they give him the opportunity to shine, he
Mm-hmm.
will shine and quickly get over with the WWE audience.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. That is our predictions for the Raw debut on Netflix episode this January 6th. Any final thoughts, Will?
I mean, this is going to be a great car. I hope there's some more surprises that we didn't talk about. Who knows? Maybe this is Gunther and Goldberg's big confrontation on this show. You never know
Oh,
who's going to show up on
yeah.
this show. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope there's something that, we don't see coming or we didn't expect that happens on the show. I think they need to make a big splash going into this new era of Raw being on Netflix. So we'll see. And we'll be here to talk about it on Tuesday. So,
Real quick before we wrap up, I just want to throw my 2 cents out there about one thing you talked about. When it comes to John Cena's farewell tour and his involvement on this episode of Raw, you had said that you think Logan Paul is going to be the one to interrupt him. I'm actually going to go with somebody else. I want to see Gunther come out, and I want to start the Cena Gunther stuff right away because I think that is money, and that's my personal preference. I think you can do Logan Paul anywhere. I think Logan Paul can just come out and cut a promo and announce his intention for the Rumble like Cena is. Give me Cena Gunther right now. Take my money. That's what I think.
I think that's a good call. If that is the direction for Mania, they do Cena Gunther, then yeah, have him come out and have him be like, or even if it's not the direction. What I loved about last year's build was they had like Punk do promos with Rollins, McIntyre, Cody, just kind of weighing out all of the options for future feuds
Mhm.
going into WrestleMania season and beyond. It would be cool if for Cena's first couple weeks, he kind of is confronted by different people who
Yeah,
want to
all want a
face
shot
him.
at him.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't hate that.
I can see the promo now. You were the face that ran the place. That's like horrible. It's my show now. Alrighty. Well, that does it. Again, like Luke had mentioned, or who the fuck is Luke?
What?
Like
All
Will had
right, this
mentioned.
is so. This is the last episode of Top Rope Takes, guys. I gotta walk off after that.
We have more episodes coming your way. We have our full predictions for 2025. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.
Peace.